Hey everyone, this is James LaBrie from Dream Theater, and you're watching the YouTube channel Richard Metal Fan. See ya.
Thanks, James. Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys a old school album review. And today we're going to be looking into this album's 15-year anniversary, and it's from, well, probably one of the few progressive metal bands ever that I like. And this album has turned 15 years old today. And as you can see by the title, today we're going to be covering Octavarium by Dream Theater. This was the band's, I believe, 8th album, released on June 7th, 2005 through Atlantic Records. Now, with Octavarium, this follows up their previous album being 2003's Train of Thought, which was a heavy album. But I feel like with Dream Theater, musically, it's very progressive. Like, they have long songs that last 20 minutes or even 42 minutes, like they had for the 6 series of Inner Turbulence. But they tend to have a different approach to with every album, but still retaining what makes them what they are. Or it probably just me being a fan. If you were to play me 30 seconds of a Dream Theater song, I could tell oh, that's off of Images and Words, or that's from Scenes from a Memory or Train of Thought, or so on and so forth. You could definitely tell with every album they have a different style or a different approach. But with this album, I feel it's kind of reminds me of a little bit of a throwback, a style to Images and Words or Awake, sort of that whole 90s era. But with a little mixture of stuff from Scenes from a Memory. That's pretty much how I feel . And this album was actually, from what I heard, this was the last album they recorded at, I believe, the Hit Studios in New York before it shut down, and they were actually the last album they actually recorded. So it's good to have a metal album recorded in a studio, being the last album done at a studio. So yeah, let's just dive right into this. Vocally, James LaBrie sounds really great here. He just sounds pretty tight. Guitar-wise, I mean, what can I say about John Petrucci? Just his guitar playing, he could do no wrong. He could do slow stuff, and he could just shred it a million notes per second, which is just insane. And just bass-wise, I feel this is where John Myung really just stands out on the bass. You definitely tell the bass is really audible. You could definitely hear it well in the mix. It just goes along with what John Petrucci is playing, and playing just with the melody, and also rhythmically with what Mike Portnoy is doing. And drumming wise, Mike Portnoy, in my opinion, is my all-time favorite drummer. I don't know how he does just the insane fills and just double bass and everything. The most intricate parts that he does is great. And just the keyboards, Jordan Rudess definitely has a great approach to the keyboards. It could sound melodic and beautiful, which I believe that's pretty much the whole motive of a keyboard, but it can also do some shreddy stuff along with Petrucci, just especially going back and forth, or even doing dueling solos with the guitar and keyboard, which sounds really fucking awesome. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is The Root of All Evil, which is a pretty good opener for the band. It is actually the third song in Mike Portnoy's 12-step suite since he got sober from alcohol back and drugs or something. I think it was alcohol in 2000. And I feel this pretty much borrows riffs and melodies from the previous installment, This Dying Soul. I think it pretty much ends sort of how it began, similar to how it was with the previous albums, it would end how it would begin. And it's a pretty good high energy song that just kicks things off. And I just love how in the middle section it just features some few tempo changes, and I love the sort of the trade-off solos between John Petrucci and Jordan Rudess. And I feel but it's also feel a lot more toned down than pretty much the rest of the album. But yeah, I just feel they were trying to make this album a little bit more accessible. So yeah, then moving things on is The Answer Lies Within, which is the ballad of the album, which is kind of interesting that they would place as a second song. The first song is just a pretty rockin' song, and then it just slows down to the ballad, which is interesting. But this ballad is pretty simple, and it has some really beautiful and just melodic piano parts played by Jordan, and John just even joins in acoustically. And there's pretty much no guitar solos, which is a pretty good. And this piece is just really warm and just beautiful. And I just feel a solo would just spoil the mood, which is a pretty good song. Anyway, moving on to These Walls. And I really love the choruses here. It's very memorable, and I just love sort of the bass drums that Portnoy uses during the chorus. And just John Petrucci's solo is one of the smallest solos that has come from him, and it works well well with here, and it's pretty much drives it to like its last bit of the moment. So I love sort of like there's like a little weird vocal effect that James LaBrie uses at the end with sort of like him reciting the lyrics of "Tear down these walls for me, it's not too late for me." It's just a really great song itself, and I just one song it just makes you want to just rock on. Moving on to I Walk Beside You, which is a really weird song. It's probably the most poppiest thing Dream Theater has released, probably since Falling Into Infinity, which is 1997, which that album I didn't really care for. And it just really is followed by sort of like Jordan's really good keyboards, which actually goes into some melodic opening guitar licks from JP. And this song musically kind of reminds you of something from Innocence Faded from Awake in some ways. It's pretty very uplifting but not too complicated hidden here, and it's a pretty positive song. Anyway, moving on to Panic Attack, which is a pretty great song, probably much my favorite song on this album. It starts off with a really great bass intro from John Mayung before joining in by some heavy riffs and just insane drummings. And I feel like lyrically the song is about just like a panic attack experienced by a body, and this song pretty much gives you the feeling that you're pretty much experiencing it. And I really love how Mike Portnoy just sounds good on the drums, and I really love how Jordan Rudess just put some nice keyboard riffs in there, and I love sort of like the instrumental breakdown around 4.5 minutes into the song, which is just excellent. And I just love sort of like the soloing from Jordan, and JP comes in with an insane guitar solo, which makes you just lose your fucking mind, and just ends with some weird effects, which is just some, I don't know, it just sounds really weird. But anyway, moving on to Never Enough, which is probably the heaviest song on the album. It has a really just insane heavy riff. Then the guitar solo pretty much isn't the usual from JP. It just not just no notes played a million notes per second. It sounds good, and around pretty much almost 4 minutes in, it slows down, and some really great keyboards from Jordan, and then JP plays a different riff towards like the end. And it pretty much ends sort of like the way it starts. So it's sort of like a little bit of a palindrome. And it sort of like fades out with some strings. And then we move on to Sacrificed Sons. Ugh, can't even speak today. And it starts off with some whisperings and some pretty much I feel like it's literally, it talks about like terrorism, and it's very political sounding. And it sort of like stops abruptly, and then it begins the piano, and later joined in by the rest of the band. The music is just nothing short of good as well. It's just some grandish guitar and sort of like keyboard work, and I really love this. Is pretty much another part where John Mayung really stands out, and he has like a little bit of a short bass intro with sort of like effects. Kind of reminds you of I forget the opening song from Train of Thought, but yeah, it also has some nice solos from JP and Jordan. And then the album closes epically with the title track, Octavarium, which is the longest song on the album, clocking in at 24 minutes long. And this song is pretty much split into 5 different passages. See, I can't even speak today. I'm sorry, guys. It's starting off with Someone Like Him, which begins some strings and some nice little bit of ambience going on. And the guitar joins in heavy on the delay, and is sort of like the darkest section of the entire album, which moves into really dark acoustics with sort of like a flute. And this really focuses mainly on sort of like James LaBrie and Petrucci's sort of like acoustic part. So then passage 2 is called Medicate Awakening, which begins with John Mayung playing like a great bass line, which flows through the rest of the song right here. And sort of like the melodies from here just is heard throughout it was just pretty good in a good way. And then the third movement is called Full Circle, and this is pretty much where it really picks up. And there's like a cool keyboard line in here, which sounds awesome. Then next up is Introvals, and I really love James's vocals here. It pretty much goes well with the keyboards. And then finally we get to the last passage of this song, which is Rager's Edge, and this is where John Petrucci just gets a chance to just let loose and create one of the most maddening sections of the song. And there's moments of this song from other parts of the song from past albums that are used for a little bit, and then it just becomes so chaotic that you can't believe it's the same song for the first 2 patches, from like the insane solos to part of the jingle bells to some Spanish guitar work from here. And this section is the most fun, and just pretty much end everything all out on a high note. So overall, Octavarium by Dream Theater, another good album in their catalog. So if I had to give this album a score, I probably would give this probably a solid 8.5 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of the album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of Octavarium by Dream Theater, guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.